Okay, now that free agency is for the most part done, and all the insane trades we think are out of the way, with Adams being a Raider, Tyreek being a Dolphin, and everything in between, it's time to do a reality check, Badake, and let's give our realistic landing spots for some of these rookie wide receivers, okay?
Right. Okay.
We want them to go to certain teams before free agency. Now, maybe certain teams look a little bit more attractive than others. So let's talk about this. Garrett Wilson, walk me through it. What's a realistic landing spot?
Yeah, for me, it's the Atlanta Falcons in the first round. It just makes so much more. It just makes sense. This is, I feel like, the one that you can lock down on paper. We're going to write it in ink right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Submit the card. He's going to the Atlanta Falcons. It just makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. Well, the Falcons make sense at pick 8. Commanders, I think, make sense. They have a first-round pick. The Texans, Eagles, all those teams could definitely make a play. But I agree. My most likely landing spot there is the Atlanta Falcons at round 1, pick 8. And it's pretty easy. I mean, their current depth chart at the wide receiver position is a joke. I mean, their number 1 wide receiver is Olave Zaccheaus from my alma mater, University of Virginia Cavaliers.
Hey, he's on my Dynasty team, so I'm believing.
I didn't go to the University of Virginia. No way I could afford that. But they need a wide receiver. It's very clear. No free agent has signed there yet as of recording this. Russell Gage is gone, and he was an ideal wide receiver 3.
Absolutely.
He was playing as their 1. They need a true X-factor wide receiver. I personally don't know how they pass up on the wide receiver position here because it is such a massive need for them. So again, I feel like you could pencil it in at this point. They have so many needs, and some people are going to be saying, well, why don't you think they go quarterback? I'll just quickly say, I think it makes sense for them to build around a quarterback this year for next year. They're not going to be a good team.
Exactly.
So if they bring in Malik Willis, who is he? Like, what else is there? Like, you're going to set him up for failure. So build good pieces on the defense and the offense this year in the draft. You're going to be bad this year, and next year, go get your quarterback of the future.
Agreed.
So for me, I really like this spot. Do you like this spot as well? I mean, I think we have the same pick, right?
Yeah, we have the same pick. It's going to Atlanta Falcons. I mean, Calvin really suspended for the year. Who knows if he is going to be back on the team? The thought process is that he's not Julio Jones. The era is done. They do need weapons. They have a young wide receiver or tight end in Kyle Pitts. Maybe they get a running back in the second round. It just makes sense going wide receiver in the 2023 draft class. Is at the moment it feels like it's stocked up on quarterback. So if you can get a quarterback in that draft class, and I think you could put yourself in a good spot, in my opinion.
By the way, for Dynasty, let's talk about how this impacts maybe rookie drafts. But for me, Mariota is not your ideal quarterback. However, the opportunity and the target share will be through the roof. It might not be as efficient this year, but it wouldn't make me hesitate on drafting Garrett Wilson. Do you agree?
Agreed. He's still my wide receiver 1 in this draft class for me right now. I'm still taking him, I guess, depending on how your board falls, 102, 103, 104. I think that feels really, really good, especially wait a year. What if one of these young rookie quarterbacks in 2023 draft class comes in and he's the wide receiver for them? Just makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. We still believe in the talent to show out. So Drake London, let's talk about his realistic landing spot. There were 4 teams that really made sense to me: the Jets, Commanders, Texans, Packers, or Chiefs trading up. I think that could be a possibility. It's probably unlikely, but just wanted to throw that out there. For the Texans in particular, if they were to go this way, in my opinion, it means Brandon Cooks is being traded. He's being moved because he's 29 years old, doesn't really fit their timeline. But
correct.
Let's talk about our most realistic spot. What's your most realistic spot here? Landing spot for Drake?
Yeah, it's the New York Jets.
Same. Wow.
It just once again, it makes sense. This is a team that you hear a lot on, all the media and everyone saying that this is a great landing spot, especially for Zach Wilson. It can help him open up and throw the deep ball shots. Have a contested catch guy. I think that makes a lot of sense because Corey Davis and all these other guys aren't it. I mean, besides Elijah Moore, he feels like he's a guy that can be a great slot receiver, complementing with Drake London to be a big body guy. Once again, it just makes sense. I think this is really easy, or hopefully you can put it on ink to paper and then submit the card, but anything can happen in the NFL draft.
Yeah, I said this in our running back version of this video. the most important thing last year, this year, and next year is going to be finding out who Zach Wilson is and giving him every opportunity to succeed. You got Elijah Moore as a slot king on this team. Drake is your big body X wide receiver.
Yeah,
Corey
sense.
Davis is a perfect Y. So we have seen in the past how much an elite wide receiver can transform a quarterback's game. It is a very important part. And while we can point to quarterbacks who have succeeded without elite wide receivers, it doesn't mean that you don't go out and get everything that this quarterback needs to succeed. So I think the Jets make a whole lot of sense. And I don't think Drake is going to get out of the top 18 picks.
I don't think so. I don't think so either. I guess just to put some bands out there, I can definitely see the Texans taking them. Like you said, I think that is the second most realistic spot for Drake London. Other than that, I mean, if he falls outside of there, then maybe teams don't see him. Like you said, top 18. If he falls outside of that, teams definitely don't see him the way we thought they saw him, because the whole conversation coming into the season or this NFL draft season was that he will be a top 10, top 12 pick. And if he falls outside of 18, that's huge, in my opinion.
I almost feel like the people who are mocking him to the Commanders are like, well, I don't think he should drop farther than this. You know what I mean? Like, right. I personally, as a Commanders fan, like, can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth, but I don't think it makes a lot of sense for him to come to Washington. I could be wrong, but I mean, imagine people watching this a month later and he's in.
Like, you stupid, bro. He's in Washington. Told you to go to Washington.
Yeah, the comments. Okay, Chris Olave, one of my favorite guys, a player that I'm consistently advocating for. Let's talk about his realistic landing spots. I do think the Commanders are a real possibility. Both Wilson and Olave feel like a real possibility. And I don't know if you saw the videos of Ron Rivera at Ohio State's Pro Day. He was specifically targeting these two guys, having conversations with them, watching them on the field. I think he's very interested in them. And honestly, the Washington Commanders want to prove everyone wrong on Carson Wentz. I'm not saying they're going to, but they want to give him everything they need.
All the reports coming out about
all
Carson.
The memes, all the finger pointing. They want to make a statement. We'll see. But other teams, Saints make a lot of sense at 18. Patriots at 21.
Yeah.
Green Bay Packers at 22. I think he's absolutely locked in to be a first-round pick. So I'll ask you before I say my ideal landing spot. What's your ideal landing spot here for Olave?
Yeah. For me, it's the Green Bay Packers.
Oh my God. Please tell me we're going to have a different landing spot in this video.
I hope so. I kind of creeped down the script there, and I think we have a different landing spot. But look, this is one that makes a lot of sense. You can ink it in. I guess like let's get this take out the way and maybe talk a little bit about maybe some other teams. But yeah, the Green Bay Packers, obviously they get rid of Devontae Adams. They need a good wide receiver. No one else is there. Allen Lazard. Do they double dip now in the first? We don't know.
Yeah.
we don't know.
Also, Matt LaFleur was recently quoted to have said, we need a legit guy that can take the top off of the coverage when talking about wide receiver. And more specifically, when looking back on losing MVS. MVS was a 4-3 runner, okay? He was the deep threat for this team. You lose Adams, you lose MVS, and Olave very much fits the mold of the wide receiver he's talking about. Someone who can take the top off. But Olave is a very, very special route runner and creates separation with ease. I can just imagine, give Olave and Aaron Rodgers a full offseason to get on the same page, and we could see some real magic on the field. I think at that point, by the way, at 22, he's probably the most complete wide receiver on the board. Yeah. Wilson's probably gone. These other guys are probably gone. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely.
Now, there are some other teams that could make sense, and you mentioned, for me, you want to talk about those?
Yeah, look, for me, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because does someone like Chris Olave fall all the way down to the 22nd pick? I feel like it feels like it should happen, but there are a lot of teams that have 2 picks in the first round.
Well, you know me, I don't think the gap between Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave is as drastic as everyone else is saying.
Exactly.
For me, I actually have Olave as a better wide receiver,
right? Okay.
As a prospect. Now, it is very close. Like literally, they are pretty much in our grading system. They are the same tier, and the same level of a prospect. So to me, I don't think that the league should view him differently as differently maybe as the mock drafts are alluding to.
Agreed. And there are teams, even though maybe these teams we weren't named, I won't be surprised if Philly goes for a guy like him. I know that sounds crazy. We may not like it. Philly, the Texans, the New Orleans Saints, maybe even the Chargers, whatever the case, and the Patriots. I know we named some of these guys earlier, but don't be surprised if he gets snagged right before Green Bay, and then Green Bay has to, settle for another guy, which is okay. Like, there's still talent there, but we'll see.
So let's talk about, if he does land in our ideal spot, which is the Packers, what does that mean for Dynasty? I mean, to me, I don't think there could be a more ideal scenario. Aaron Rodgers is your quarterback. There's no one competing for targets. I don't think there's a more ideal landing spot, Badake.
Yeah, this is a dream come true for Chris Olave and for fantasy owners who have a top 3-4 pick. I think Chris Olave will probably go above Garrett Wilson, in drafts just purely because they know the longevity, or at least the hope and the production that Chris Olave is going to have with Aaron Rodgers outside of, for example, Garrett Wilson. We have him going to the Falcons. Well, he's going to sit for a year. He may not get a good quarterback. Who's going to be
He's not going to sit for a year.
Not sit for a year, excuse me. Not sit for a year, but the thought process is that he's not going to have crazy numbers that Chris Olave can have with Aaron Rodgers, where you had to wait a year for Garrett Wilson. Well, at least the expectations you have to wait until he gets a good quarterback, and then everything else can kind of come to fruition. I think he can be in contention to be the 102, 103 if he does go to the Green Bay Packers.
So I still imagine that Breece Hall, Malik Willis, and Drake London are going to be going ahead of him, and maybe Wilson.
Would you take Drake over? Would you take Drake?
I don't like Drake. You know I'm not high on Drake. So no, 100%. I would.
I wonder if the community would. However, I doubt the community would though.
Let's say that Olave goes to Green Bay and Wilson goes to Atlanta. I still think a lot of people are going to be going Garrett Wilson. So he's my wide receiver 3 in the class. Olave is. If anything, this just makes me more confident. I think the 104 and above is like a lock for me for Olave, because I just we don't. There's probably other players landing in really good spots too.
I'm interested to know what the community thinks. If Drake London goes to the Jets and then Chris Olave goes to the Packers, who are you taking?
No. Let's extend it. If Wilson goes to the Falcons,
right?
If Drake goes to the Jets, and if Olave goes to the Packers, comment down below. How would you rank these three?
Really
where
like
you
would
take
that.
them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Jameson Williams, the next wide receiver. And by the way, there's a ton of wide receivers. We're only going to be able to fit 5 into this video.
Yeah.
If you want us to do more of these, we absolutely can. But I have 4 realistic landing spots. Mm-hmm. 1 is the Chargers at pick 17. I'll explain that in a second.
Okay.
2 is the Saints at pick 18.
Agreed.
The Patriots make a lot of sense at 21, and the Chiefs at 29, obviously, right? Yeah. Obviously, that makes sense.
100%.
You'll notice that I didn't have the Packers here. And the reason I don't have the Packers here is because I think Aaron Rodgers is on a very specific timeline, and I think it's very important for whatever wide receiver that they draft, that player would be available in the offseason, because the chemistry is the biggest thing with Aaron Rodgers. We've known that. Can he trust you? And it's going to be hard to trust Jameson Williams while he's in a walking boot, So
yeah.
Is there any other spots that I missed that you wanted to highlight?
No, I think this is perfect. For me, the 3 teams that I have on my list are the Patriots, the Saints, and the Chiefs. That just makes more sense. The longevity on the mindset where these teams are going, I think it just makes sense for James.
Okay. So give me your ideal spot, and please tell me it's different to mine.
My ideal landing spot, the New England Patriots. After I had that realization and been hearing the Nick Saban and Bill Belichick connection, it just makes sense to me. It makes sense that Bill Belichick will take him. We know him. He plays the long game. He's 200 IQ. He's thinking about 3 years from now. We're not thinking about that. And he's seeing how Jameson Williams can be integrated with this team and Mac Jones. And even though these 2 guys didn't play together, they came from the same team. They had the same mindset. And they've been around the same people. So they know how to operate. They know how to work together. It just makes sense for the Patriots taking them at the 21st pick.
Okay, I like that. I think the Patriots make a ton of sense. That was actually my second landing spot.
Mm-hmm.
My first, which I don't think that you're going to love, I don't think other people are going to love when they hear it, but let me explain, is the Chargers at pick 17. Okay? What is everyone thinking right now who disagrees? They don't need a wide receiver. Well, did the Bengals need a wide receiver last year? No. Did the Cowboys need a wide receiver when they got CeeDee Lamb? No, but that doesn't mean you pass on a talent like Jameson Williams. You build on your strengths. The AFC West is going to be shootout after shootout with Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Derek Carr, Devontae Adams.
Right.
I mean, you need another X Factor player on this team. That is never the wrong answer, grabbing an X Factor player. And you have to think about it. What team out of the teams that we have named are in a better position to allow a wide receiver their full time to recover? Not the Saints. They don't got nobody really outside of Michael Thomas. They need him straight away. They need a wide receiver straight away. Not the Patriots. Like, is Jacoby Myers going to be the guy? You know what I mean?
Right.
Not the Chiefs. I mean, I guess the Chiefs technically have Juju and MVS, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying from a perspective of who is in the best position to allow him to fully recover without any sort of stresses or expectations. And I think that's the Chargers, because you already have Keenan. You already have Mike Williams, right? And by the way, I already think that Jameson Williams is a fantastic route runner, but you sit and you watch Keenan Allen, you build parts of your game from Keenan Allen. Now we're talking about you building one of the most complete wide receivers. So I love that landing spot. I think it makes a lot of sense. Keenan Allen is almost in his 30s here soon. You know, Mike Williams isn't getting any younger, so let's get another piece in the building that Justin Herbert can grow with. Getting an elite wide receiver is never the wrong answer, in my opinion.
Right.
So let's talk about our landing spots for Dynasty, for rookie drafts. This is ideal for me. Landing in the Chargers. It's one of the best spots outside of Kansas City. You know, you have elite speed, great route runner, and you connect him to Justin Herbert. Yes, please. I'll take that every day.
It definitely makes sense. It's very interesting to see where he would go. For me, I don't mind the Chargers. Just giving you.
Let's talk about your fit though for Dynasty. What do you think about that?
For Dynasty, well, where he's going in the first
fit.
Yeah,
your Patriots fit. How do you feel about Dynasty rookie drafts?
Oh, I was confused. I was like, I already gave my take.
No. I'm saying
for rookie drafts. Right,
for rookie drafts, on him, or
for rookie drafts, I'm not as hesitant on him if he were to go to the Patriots. I do believe he can play the long run. I mean, you were saying how you don't see how he can play the long game with this team. I think he could sit back and have the long run. But for me, I'm comfortable with this scenario. I'm comfortable where he can go in rookie mock drafts or rookie drafts as well. It just feels comfortable to me.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that he can't, because of course he's going to have to on every single team. He's going to have to do that. I'm just saying that I don't think that that's the ideal scenario for some of these teams. They want a player to come in and make an impact from day one.
Immediately, right. So, it makes sense. All
right, let's talk about Treylon Burks. He will be the last wide receiver we talk about today. Again, we can do more landing spots if there's other wide receivers you want us to cover, like those tier 2. Well, some of them are still tier 1, but tier 1, landing spots. Tell us, who's your ideal landing spots? Give us a couple.
I have 3. The Philadelphia Eagles in the first, and New Orleans Saints in the first, and the Dallas Cowboys in the first. Those are my 3 ideal landing spots. I really have 2 realistic, most likely landing spots, which sounds crazy.
Tell us.
So my 2 most likely landing spots are the Philadelphia Eagles and the New Orleans Saints.
Okay.
I think these teams are in the same boat, even though the Eagles have their quarterback in Jalen Hurts. They have their quarterback in Jalen Hurts. Everyone knows that they can move on at any time, but they have a good young team around them. Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, he's still a little bit young, and then if they bring in another guy like Treylon Burks, I think that's fantastic. And then if Jalen Hurts doesn't work out, get another quarterback.
Gardner Minshew, right? Ride him to the Super Bowl.
Get something. And my second, once again, I think these are really back to back. I can really see these 2 picks happening in the Saints. MT is getting old. Taysom Hill is no longer going to be the quarterback. It just makes so much more sense. If Jameis Winston doesn't work out, you have a 2023 first round.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if the Saints went wide receiver and then quarterback in the second.
Yeah.
It feels like a very Saints thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had all those spots, but my most likely spot you didn't mention.
Oh, okay.
And that's the Arizona Cardinals.
Right.
At pick 23 in the first round. All right, that might sound weird at first, but let's think about it. They re-signed James Conner to cover the running back position. All right, and they could still address it later in the draft if they want to build that running back room. But what did they address the wide receiver room in free agency? No, they actually lost Christian Kirk, which is good. I'm glad they didn't sign him to that money. They also lost AJ Green,
Right.
DeAndre Hopkins is obviously the feature wide receiver, the alpha. However, he only has 3 years left on his deal, and he will be 30 this year. So he only has, let's say, 2 years left of elite play. Let's get a young, big body, athletic wide receiver who I've compared to A.J. Brown many times. Let's get him in the building. Let's let Kyler Murray build around him. So you got D-Hop in the X, Rondale's in the slot, Ertz is in the middle of the field, and Treylon, while he is not Deebo Samuel, he can play the role of moving all over the field, and this gives your offense a lot of flexibility. It takes a lot of pressure off of Kyler, and what you don't want to be as an organization is 2 years down the road, and you haven't added an elite wide receiver. You haven't addressed that. And now D-Hop is he's looking like he's on the decline, and then it's so obvious that you need to address that.
Right.
You want to address that before it becomes an issue. The wide receiver position is becoming a bigger and bigger need for teams. So I think this makes a lot of sense for the Cardinals. And, I would prefer this spot from a dynasty perspective over like the Saints and the Eagles personally. I don't know how you feel about it. I'm not saying that it's a worse spot or less realistic. I'm just saying for fantasy, I would prefer to have him connected to Kyler Murray than Jameis Winston or Jalen Hurts at this point.
Okay. I mean, that's very, very interesting. I mean, do they go wide receiver or do they go, offensive line? It's very interesting because I know they lost a couple offensive linemen in the offseason. Excuse me. So I'm interested to see if that's actually true. I've seen Treylon Burks go to the Cardinals. So
right.
I don't mind it. I'm just interested to see do they get weapons or can they get enough talented wide receiver, not as Treylon Burks, but a Sky Moore in the second. Does he fall? Thing, right? Does he fall in the second, and then he can get a good complimentary wide receiver too?
Should the Bengals have gone Penei Sewell? No, right? I mean, there was an X factor wide receiver on the board. I'm not saying Jamar Chase is Treylon Burks, but he can be an X factor wide receiver in the league, and they can address offensive line in free agency and later on in the draft. I think more and more teams are gonna, if there's a guy that's truly on the board, and maybe they don't view him that way. But if there's a player on the board that is truly an X factor, even if that position already looks good for you, I don't know. Maybe go for it because I think an X factor wide receiver, I think has a bigger impact on your team than an offensive lineman can, than one single offensive lineman. So, I can definitely see where you're coming from, but I think more and more teams are going to start looking at players that can make that difference for them.
Okay. It's very interesting to see what's going to happen. In a dynasty perspective, what are you thinking?
Well, I asked you a question, but you didn't answer it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I completely missed it. I was so focused on the next one.
You're good. I'm saying from Treylon Burks' perspective, take your biases of how much you hate Kyler Murray out of this. But would you, for just strictly landing spot, would you rather have Treylon connected to Jameis, Jalen Hurts, or Kyler Murray? And keeping in mind that I'm saying this only from a landing spot perspective, 100%. Because I think all these teams are realistic that we talked
100%. About. I would definitely want Treylon to go to the Cardinals. I think there's no doubt about it.
I'm not saying it's more realistic because again, I think the Saints and Eagles are very
I think in a fantasy
spots.
Perspective, the ideal spot is to go with the quarterback that has proven their workload, that has proven to make other people fantasy relevant. And I think it makes sense if he does go to the Cardinals, I'm definitely taking Treylon Burks higher than most. But if he goes, and that's the thing with my takes, Philly and New Orleans, these are the longer plays.
Totally.
This is not a one that
let's ask Washington how long that play is taking.
Well, that sucks because then ain't nobody really want to play the long game.
The Browns finally got there, but you know what I mean with the quarterback position. I mean that game can last a long time. That can be a Monopoly type game night.
Oh, bro, that sucks.
But anyway, I think that is all the wide receivers for today's video. Let us know in the comments. Should we do this again? Do you want us to do specific players? This was fun. So comment down below.
Yo, what's good? Thanks for watching. We got a lot more videos.
A lot more.
If you want more videos.
Watch it.
You can also subscribe.
Right now.
If you want to.
You need to.
And lastly, don't forget that you can sign up to support the show and get exclusive content by going to patreon.com/fantasylandfam.